We got titles.
Yep.
280. Psych. Remember psych? When was the last time somebody said psych to you?
Well, Jamie's rewatching Psych, so like yesterday.
Fair. We've been working our way through Community because we've wanted to watch it forever, and everyone says it's good, and it's pretty great.
It's pretty good. I liked it. Jamie liked it. It grew on her. I don't think she wanted to like it, but ended up liking it.
It's yeah.
Oh man.
Lots of fun stuff in there. Yep. It's got to be some kind of like drone thing of a beach. Like it's from above, looks like.
Yep.
Behind you. Yeah.
It's a black sand beach in Iceland.
Oh, okay. This is not even a black and white.
I'm sure
thing.
it was altered, but
Sure.
just got it on Unsplash.
Pretty cool. What's going on, everyone? Chat.
I was going to send you a screenshot today of a Tetrip Dare, but I decided not to send it to you. Spare you.
You're only triggering yourself, man. Doesn't phase me.
I think it does. Everyone just takes a little chink out of your armor.
I don't write errors, Sean. You know that by now. All my code is perfect and pristine. That's why I don't write tests.
You're not going to see errors if you're not using what you're writing in runtime. Right? The front end devs will see the errors.
Sounds like not my problem.
Yeah, just throw some if else's on it.
We found a fun issue where QA was having a hell of a time testing LiveView because they just kept randomly crashing. No errors in the logs, no nothing. You could just tell that the thing would just freaking disconnect and die. And only reproducible in the the QA environment, of course. We've been like weeks trying to track this down. And long story short, it had to do with the fact that they're using Kubernetes behind Google Cloud Platform's load balancer. And one of the, I think, Kubernetes settings, whatever thing they're using for the load balancing, like has a connection timeout. And it was just 30 seconds or something. So
right.
Freaking WebSocket would die after 30 seconds, which is not ideal. And there's no way to disable that. Like even if there's traffic flowing across the pipe, it doesn't reset it. It's a hard reset after 30 seconds. And
that I've run into similar stuff with Heroku in the past, like connection timeouts and things like that happening.
Yeah. Keep Alive didn't work, pings didn't work, just would die. So
that's frustrating. Just
bumped up to like a 24-hour connection time.
Oh God.
Right? Like whatever. The connections will drain off if there's still idle timeouts that will kick it off, but like, if you leave a tab open for 24 hours, it'll refresh once. Yeah, it might have been a Google thing. I don't remember the details, but those timeouts will get you. I don't know, man. They're doing all kinds of crazy Kubernetes stuff over there. Try to stay out of it.
I try to stay out of that too.
Yeah.
I only build apps that need one single instance of Postgres and one app server, maybe two app servers for redundancy. That's all.
How do you get to web scale, Sean?
You don't. You sell before, and that's someone else's problem.
Brilliant. Our on-prem Kubernetes cluster load balancer doesn't have a timeout.
Well, the client's cluster, yeah.
Does Kubernetes itself provide a load balancer thing, or is it like is there a third party thing you have to put in front of it? Because this is interesting. If true, big if true. Maybe I'll ping you in Discord later for details. It has one out of the box. All right, I'll have to find out what they're using. I don't know. I don't even know if I could look at it and tell you.
I think about using Docker more, but nothing that I'm doing. Like, I don't need to use it at work unless, the client needs it. And nothing I'm doing on the side requires it. So I just haven't really, jumped into it too far. I've done things like Docker container, DK. When you were trying to work on DK, I Dockerized it so you didn't have to deal with all that stuff. But yeah. What's up, Paul? I just haven't really needed.
Computer. Okay, it says. Yeah, it does look like some Google thing. What's up, Paul?
Fighting Android bugs? That sucks. Oh, nice. How long is... Oh, right, vacation. Yeah, that's right. Everyone has vacation. I was going to ask how long vacation was, but... Yeah. Are you taking additional vacation, Paul? Auto week? Awesome.
Is that prior to the 4th? Or after the 4th?
Oh, cool. So you're traveling down there? I feel like I've met him once or twice.
Okay. You got anything planned, Sean?
No. Just housework and things. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Trying to keep up with it. I'm trying a thing where instead of working on stuff like all day on weekends and just kind of losing my whole weekends, I'm just doing a few hours. I'm time boxing everything, not just work. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I found that doing chores on the weekend, it's like I go in with the mindset that it's okay if doing something is better than nothing, right? So like I'm not going to bust my ass. If I get tired or it's too hot, I'm just going to stop.
Yep.
It's fine.
I'll go do something else till it cools off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, I don't know. It's easier for me to, I think like consistency is probably more important than a large, iceberg of time spent on something.
Brian, you trying to get Sean roped into some new game?
I don't feel like going into the woods and getting mugged over and over again. That's basically what Tarkov is. Does it still count as an open source contribution if the pull request never gets looked at?
I mean,
it only counts if the repo adds you as a contributor, right? Or counts you as a contributor?
That's right.
Right?
Paul.
Like that was, remember you'll never have to do big chunks if you don't at least put a little effort. Yeah, exactly. Just consistency over time, I think will trump that out. Well, we'll win out over time. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. The Octo, what's GitHub's October thing where they try to encourage people to put in like PRs and stuff.
Yeah.
How it's just descended into madness.
They're just doing like one-line commits, right? To readmes and stuff.
Add an unnecessary comma here and there, and the maintainers are like, "This is madness. Please stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't." It's just like flooding with PRs, just for a T-shirt or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of a bummer.
But I mean, even if you submit a PR, at least like it's out there in the world. Maybe it'll inspire someone to fork it and merge in your PR because they need it. It's a potential contribution.
Yeah.
Like potential energy. It's not really energy, but kind of is.
I had a really good conversation with Matt the other day. I'd love to get him on the show at some point.
Yeah.
Hey, Web Queen.
Hi. All right. This is
Should get it moving.
yeah, probably.
I'm zapped. I don't even know why I'm so just like. Ugh.
It's better.
Boom, boom. All right, let me know when to push the baton.
All right. I'm just all right.
Shut off that work computer.
It's off. I swear. It's sleeping. All right. All right. I'm ready. I'm recording.
I'm recording as well.
Sweet. My turn.
Maybe it's
Clap.
the tunes. Yeah, I think it's your turn. Tunes are making me like snore soon. I'll sound like Watson soon.
Run around the yard naked.
Maybe. I mean, there's a couple of neighbors that can see because they have tall houses, but there is a fence.
I guess you wouldn't be completely naked. You could have a collar and a leash.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't be unheard of around here, around these parts. So I've stumbled upon a more than one, sometimes a nude beach.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Heck of a thing to stumble upon.
Yep. You'd be like the fifth strangest dressed person downtown. Paul is not wrong.
I mean, this is coming from a Portland resident.
Right. Yeah, I think it's your turn to clap.
All right, ready? That's all staying in. A 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I was surfing with Jamie and Zach R. He used to work at Octopus back in the day, and I remember this because it was his girlfriend's first time surfing. She's really nervous about it, so we went to this place that we thought it would be kind of chill and not have a ton of people around, because Santa Cruz is like if there's potential for a wave, there's 12 people there. And so anyway, we go out there, we're floating around, and this guy just like strolls up on the beach just naked. He's walking around.
Is a whole new meaning to hang 10?
He was just walking around in the sand. I don't know.
And then you figured out that's when you discovered why there were no other surfers there, right?
There were a couple. So there's Gross Rockwell. There's Opal Cliffs. There's like this beach called Privates because there's the big gate that like it's like a big iron gate that normally just closes it off the stairs. I guess there was a lawsuit a few years back. People were suing, like saying, "Hey, you can't close off the beach because it's not technically like private land. It can't be. It's public land, so you can't close off access to it." So now there's just a big iron gate that's always open. And so I guess like down there is where some people sometimes tan up.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Anyway. Yeah, it's been super nice. Like
There's a fun spot joke in there somewhere.
I've never been to the fun spot.
Don't go. It's
See the bumper stickers.
Yeah.
We're gonna take Watson there and see what happens. See him lean sideways.
Yeah, it's pretty it was pretty lame, but if you're into that sort of lame entertainment, then by all means.
I've not done most of the touristy things, I guess, that people come here to do. I've been to the boardwalk, but apart from that, not really done much else. I feel like I'm starting to come out of a slump, which has been really nice. And I think that's the opposite of some of my coworkers because it's been really hot up there. Apparently, actually, it's been like almost 100 degrees in the north.
Jeez.
Yeah. I think Paul, has Portland been warm as well? I've been hearing people talking about how it's warm, and like it was like that way maybe early or later last week, and I was having trouble focusing, but this week I felt like I've been doing a lot better.
That's good. Well, I mean, it also sounds like, I mean, the weather certainly helps, but it's you're definitely starting to hit your stride with you've been doing this sort of refactoring, typescripting, massive overhaul of your code base, and now it seems like you're starting to get in the swing of things and actually get to sort of be productive and do maybe fun and more interesting things with it.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I guess a little bit. We're making progress. We're definitely making progress on that. Today actually was a little frustrating because I have to lay the canvas out for you. Okay, so the UI is built on top of MUI, React MUI, Material UI, and you have to. So the theme originally was put together, and MUI kind of has like these ideas, even though it's not strongly typed. They're like, okay, the theme.palette holds objects, so theme.palette.main would have like primary, secondary, whatever, and then theme.palette.x would have primary, secondary, whatever. And so what happened was when it was originally set up, people started adding just things to the palette willy-nilly. So you had like some were just strings. So you had like kind of a mixed types being tossed onto that. And of course with JS, like it works. And it's probably like it works fine. It's not like super organized, but it works fine. So when you start converting to TypeScript, it's not fine. It'll technically work. This is like this whole gray area. Actually, one thing that was kind of fun this week is I still subscribe to Execute program, and so it's I just run through like code exercises, and it uses spaced repetitions. So if I get something wrong, it'll like in 6 days or whatever, it'll say like, hey, read up on this lesson, right? So I take screenshots of some of the problems sometimes and share them in the channel and say, what's the answer, And today I was actually talking with the team about how sometimes TypeScript can give you this sort of false sense of safety. So let's say you have an object that has lots of keys in it, and you make a type that only covers a portion of the keys. And maybe the object has sensitive information. So like, let's say you have a session object, and that session object maybe has user identifiable information, and then you have a type that maybe like documents some keys that aren't user identifiable information. Well, runtime, it doesn't matter. Like if you narrow it down to the type and shoot over the wire, at runtime, the TypeScript is gone. You're just sending all the information over the wire. So just kind of like driving home the fact that, remember, the type stuff is basically compile time safety. It's not, the TypeScript goes away. It's not there in runtime. So it's different worlds.
Yeah, it's no more of a guarantee. I mean, it's stricter than type hinting, I guess. The Python and now Ruby are starting to get type hinting. I don't know if, can you configure those languages to basically, error on warn? Like, can you get a Ruby program to like blow up at you if the types don't match? I don't know.
Oh, you mean like Elixir? How you can do that? You can error on. I think it's actually error on warn, isn't it?
You can definitely do it in Elixir. Yeah. We that what you should do for any non-trivial project. But Elixir's type checking, you have to bring in Dialyzer, which has its own. It comes with its own can of worms.
Right.
Maybe it's more of like how like when you get married, you have a bunch of cans behind the car. This is Dialyzer with cans dragging behind the car, each of them full of worms.
Right. And then a fan in front of it to keep the CPU cool.
Dude, I actually had to get a mic because I was using my internal mic on my laptop, and people were like, dude, I can hear your fan all the time. It was It was not sustainable.
Yeah. So I'll get to the MUI stuff here in a second. Hopefully it's maybe interesting when I get to it. But so with TypeScript, I mean, depends on how you set it up. You can get that. But how these projects are set up is that the JS is actually compiled with Babel, and Babel, the Babel transformer for TypeScript just removes TypeScript. It doesn't actually do any type checking. So when you start the dev server, it starts TSE watch, which is the type checker from TypeScript, and it starts Babel, which is the JS side of it, or Webpack, which uses Babel transformer. So essentially just Babel. So you have two processes running. So there's not really a way for you to, beyond in CI, fail the job if TypeScript doesn't type check. There's not really a way for you to get that safety beyond like team enforcement or CI enforcement. Now, if you're using TSE to actually emit the source code instead of Babel, then of course, it's not going to compile if it fails. But you have to make that choice.
Do you use Git? Wow. Do you use Git hooks at all for that?
No, we just have CI set up with some runners on the pipeline. So it lints it, it type checks it, it checks for what's the command npm. It's the security. It looks for security vulnerabilities. It's there's the word, I can't think of it right now, but yeah. So it checks for security vulnerabilities, moderate and above. So it won't let you merge any code in if it includes any of those, including dependencies, like security issues from dependencies. So there have been a few times where we had to like fork until the repository or the dependency actually fixed it.
Yeah, we for the Dockyard project I'm on, they have Git hooks so that before you can even push, it runs a bunch of stuff locally, sanity checks, dialyzer, Credo, npm like prettier formatting checks, Elixir format checks, a bunch of other stuff. And let me tell you, it's a really friggin' pain in the ass. Because
I was going to ask about that. Does it slow you down at all?
Well, it does. It really does. Because it makes you want to push less often.
Right.
Which is not conducive when you're, if you're pairing with someone and you're on the same branch, like that just basically just doesn't work. You can't do it because it just slows you down too much. You can, try to have two branches and merge between them. And I don't know, man. And then switching now you're getting me all fired up. But the slowest thing in that whole process is the I believe it's dialyzer. And basically, whenever you switch branches, basically all the source files change, and then it has to recompile everything.
You can't rely on the cache, right?
And all the dependencies. No, you can't cache it because all the versions are things. And so it's switching branches is also a pain, which makes me want to switch branches less, which is problematic. Like if you're doing a demo and you want to demo two different things in a call, like forget it. You can't, because it would be too slow for you to do the demo. You'd have to wait and have someone else do a demo and then come back to you just so you could switch branches to the new other thing.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It doesn't help that these the fans are always going to the MacBook, but it really does. It does prevent a lot of issues. It does prevent a lot of problems from getting into GitHub. We have CI there, but guess what? That almost never, ever, ever fails because we test everything before it goes up. Of course, the other Git hook is running tests, right? The tests have to pass before you can push. So we almost never have CI failures, except if it's something that's really, really wrong.
Sure, I guess that's nice. I mean, it's just pushing one sort of source of frustration to a different stack, because for in my case, I can push and forget to bump the package version of the UI kit that we're building, and though everything will run 12 minutes and I see it fails, I'm like, damn it. Okay, npm I forget, I have a alias for it, but it just bumps the package versions and stuff. Yeah. So we were talking about.
Oh yeah, sorry. So you're talking about how TypeScript errors can only really be caught in CI because of not because of.
That's how they're caught here in our situation.
Sure.
Yeah. So and getting back to MUI again, we basically were having sort of these conflated ideas kind of pushed into the same object, and so when you go to the MUI documentation, it's doesn't necessarily actually reflect reality in the case of this project. And so then, we start converting things to TypeScript. That's something they wanted, they were excited about. So we're excited about it too, because the actual quality of life of developing the other applications that we're working with is actually way better when we're using the TypeScript version of this project. So I take on the responsibility of doing it, and I start thinking, I have to start researching, okay, how do I actually type MUI? And turns out you have to rely on a feature in TypeScript called module augmentation. So yeah, you basically declare the module, and then inside of that, you can actually go into this definition and change how it's defined in your code. So like, let's say that you have theme.palette.header bar, and you're putting header bar into it. Well, that's not a valid MUI thing to be theming. So you have to override, that definition and say this is a member of the theme object. And so, yeah,
your monkey patching types.
Your monkey patching types. Yeah, yeah. And 200 lines later, I've got what appears to be, something that pretty closely reflects what in reality is happening in the theme. And to be honest, like I could have gone deeper. There were a few places where I just typed it as sort of record string unknown or record string. So you don't actually get real completion, which would be nice. But again, those things are very, very low traffic and they don't change often. So I figured it was worth the trade-off at this point to not do that. So yeah, we got the theme. That was a whole thing. Theme's nice to work with. And so now we're going through and converting components one by one. So all of that.
What does that mean, converting components?
From JS to TS.
Oh, sure.
So one of the issues here is that, half the code base is JS, half the code base is TS. And when you emit types, so with the TypeScript compiler, you can have an option where it says don't emit TypeScript code, like don't turn the TS to JS, but instead emit definition files. So it'll emit the types to .d.ts files next to the JS files, but it won't actually, because again, we're using Babel to make the JS from the TS, right? So when you do that, there are certain situations that it types pretty strictly. So let's say you have a component and one of the props it takes is a class name as string, right? So you can basically just slap extra classes onto a component and override styles. By default, then it's undefined, right? If you don't actually send an argument, then the class name prop there will be undefined. So, that's totally valid. But when you generate type definitions for that, TypeScript is going to say, class name is a required prop. So now in your UI, like in the apps that are using the UI kit, you have TypeScript errors all over because you didn't specify class name, even though it's not required. So that means you have to manually go and convert the component or update the typing or add a default value to it of like undefined, right? Because that's essentially class name question mark in TypeScript. So that's kind of where we're at is we weren't totally able to really... So originally the apps themselves made an empty module declaration for the UI kit. So that way TypeScript wouldn't complain. So if you remove that, you get all the TypeScript errors from the UI kit. If you put it back, they go away, right? So it's kind of... Okay. But that way we can keep working on the thing. It's kind of something we have to do. So yeah, that's kind of the stage we're in now, is going through, and in one project I'll take out the shim basically, and then I will work on the TypeScript side of the conversion, and then go over to the other app and see like, is anything broken? How many errors do I have now? Kind of thing. So that's the process. It reminds me a lot of DK days, to be honest. But
Sure.
Yeah, so that's going okay, but I'm learning a lot of stuff about React typing specifically. So types in TypeScript aren't that difficult. Like they can get difficult, but by themselves, they're not that difficult. When you throw React into it, it starts to get a little bit hairier, because I find it hard to find like actual documentation about this stuff or reference material to look at about this stuff. I have to kind of Google around, wade through articles, things like that, or just go straight to the source code. Or in this case, you have to go to like the definitely typed repository. So then you're looking at these long files of type definitions and stuff. So that's the hardest part for me to kind of struggle through right now is, okay, we have a text component, and since it's a functional component, you have to forward a ref through because it doesn't have a ref for itself. And then there are like any number of, types to choose from. And then let's say you have a text component that's polymorphic. So you can actually say this one is a paragraph, this one is a span, this one is an H1. How do you type that? And then how do you wrap it into create ref and type that? So I learned that today, but it was difficult to kind of sort myself around. So it's not so much like the TypeScript stuff that makes me tired. It's again, same thing with, I guess, the Node stuff I've been talking about. It's the ecosystem that sort of burns me out.
Yeah.
I don't know if all that was like a bad explanation, but it's really hard to. There's so many rabbit holes here. It's to like you have to go down to arrive like where I was kind of stuck today.
Yeah. The more you get into this, the more it seems like you're just becoming an expert on TypeScript, like just out of necessity, more or less.
Yeah. So I saw an interesting question on Twitter the other day, and it was, at what point do you go from beginning React to intermediate React? And I was kind of reading the responses there, and there were some interesting responses. Like some people were like, as soon as you get into component composition, you're starting to get into like intermediate land, or as soon as you start to understand refs, and I guess maybe I should talk about refs for a second because I'm talking about them a lot now. But like in React, let's say that you have an input and you need to interact with the input itself. You would do that with a ref. So you create a ref and you pass it to the input, and the ref that you created now holds the actual, API that you can use to interact with the DOM itself, not the React side, but the actual DOM itself.
It's a real HTML DOM element object, not a fake weird React thing.
Right. So it's useful if you're using like third parties that aren't React, or if you have to like interact with the DOM in a way it's more imperative than, that's what they're used for essentially.
It really is supposed to be an escape hatch, right? That it gives you a way to do things that you couldn't otherwise do just purely reactively.
Yes. And you don't actually start to have to mess with them a lot until you start writing library code, which I think maybe is why people were saying that's a good indicator that you're getting out of beginner land, intermediate, sometimes advanced land.
Yeah. What amazes me about hearing about the TypeScript stuff is that you're still finding new things to learn about. You're doing it a lot. You've been doing, learning a lot, and you're still finding weird corner case things that are covered by TypeScript that you have to implement because of reasons. And that just blows my mind. It seems like this endless pit of I don't know, things to know.
So the things to know typically aren't necessarily about TypeScript itself. It's the way that you have to sort of manipulate TypeScript to work with these APIs that have existed for decades before. I saw Gary Bernhardt talking about this, the creator of Execute Program, talking about this, and how people were saying something along the lines of, wouldn't it have been awesome if, HTML had these types in the first place and all that. And he was like, why are we going down this road? That's not how it is. The complexities I'm dealing with are, working with APIs that have existed for decades, and there are so many edge cases and variations and things. So that's what really makes it more difficult to sort of wrap your head around. And it's been like pretty okay, honestly. Like I haven't ever felt overwhelmed. I think mainly it's because it's been, only half of my job. The other half like keeps me busy too. So I'm not feeling too, kind of thrown into the deep end. So I get to zone in on it, and then I get a break. So for me, I think the most beneficial thing of having the role change has been sort of, we were talking about this earlier, right? Like I would rather, not spend all weekend 8 hours each day working on the yard or the house or whatever. I'd rather spend a few hours here and there. But if I spend a few hours and I'm consistent with it, it adds up, right?
Spaced repetition, Sean.
Yeah, so I'm kind of getting that in my job. I'm getting isolated from it, pulled away from it, so I'm not sort of dwelling on it all the time. And what really that amounts to is I get breaks often, which means that I come back with a fresh mind, or like having my mind cleared, I can reapproach the problem. So I'm really bad at getting up away from my computer taking breaks, but my role pulls me elsewhere. So I find that I'm always sort of excited to get back to, okay, now I came back to programming. And that kind of like gives me that energy to keep going. So
you got the carrot on the stick.
Yeah. It's exactly like that. So yeah, it's been difficult and I'm learning a lot, but I've also had a lot of fun kind of sharing that knowledge back. Like I said, going through Execute Program and, sharing exercises to be like, what's the answer to this? And so today I was teaching my devs about discriminated unions and just some more, what's that?
Nothing. Just the discriminated unions sounds like what Amazon workers are going through right now.
Yeah. 1 second.
You got some dog friends.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me run and put them outside really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. I've been staring at Sean's background, and I'm trying to figure out, like, it's this photo of the black sand beach, apparently, but boy, it sure looks, there's some, like, weird repeating patterns in there. It sure looks Photoshopped to me. How you see it have the same kind of, like, looks like someone did the stamp tool and just kind of stretched it. What's wrong with the flea market? Thank you. The flea market is clean. Well, that's because
Sorry, they would not have stopped barking.
I sold some things in the flea market. Actually, they're just hidden behind this wall.
Yeah, so discriminated unions. Basically, it's kind of like the typing of like a tag tuple, right? You have OK payload, error payload, right? So with the discriminated union, it's just that in a type. You might have like successful response, error response, and so then you might have a response type that is the union of success and error. But if you have a value where you try to say okay, but then give an error reason, that's not a valid type, right? It's a discriminated union.
So it's like it's a choose your own adventure, or no, I guess it's not a choose your own adventure, but it's like the parts of the type depend on other parts of the type matching some pattern.
Correct. Well, there's a correct state and incorrect state, and there are multiple pieces of information that go into deciding whether it's incorrect or correct, but you can't mix and match them. It's one or the other. It can't be both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pattern matching, Sean.
I just dropped a trick question on him, and I was like, "What's the answer?" But I also was like, I didn't know this before, not that long ago, so don't feel bad for not knowing this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's been kind of fun. Like as I'm learning, I'm kind of like trying to teach it as well because it helps me internalize it too. So I think that's helped a lot.
Yeah, that especially like that discriminated union thing. That's something that how would you even know that exists without just reading it? Like you can't can't stare at a problem if you don't know this is a thing. You can't stare at a problem and know that this is a way to solve it unless you like knew that ahead of time. And you can't even Google it. Maybe you could if you found the right Stack Overflow post, but that's crazy.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with estimations and Sultan, and saying like, how do you approach the situation where what you're estimating is constantly stuff you've never done? And this is kind of similar. I came across it because someone else had come across it, because someone thought it up, right? Or a group of people have thought about it, or it's not like someone had the idea of discriminated unions out of nowhere. There was probably a path to that, and I just happened to come across it, and I'm trying to help them come across it too. So yeah, trying to be that network for them, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely like something where I'm like, hey, I don't just know this stuff. I only know this because, well, for example, I got stuck on something, and I asked a friend, and he knew the answer, and so I was like, hey, everybody, I fixed the thing. Oh, by the way, I didn't fix it. It was my friend told me to fix it. So I'm trying to be very transparent with them. They're like, you could have just said that you fixed it and taken credit. And it's like, but I want to make sure that you guys feel like whatever I'm doing is attainable too. You can have friends that know answers as well. Just ask them stuff. So
we've been having these sort of informal code review sessions with our client, who they're a developer client, but they don't have a ton of Elixir experience, and so we just kind of sit down with them and hang out and show them just kind of interesting things that we've come across and worked on that's relevant to the project. And I try to approach it from a teaching perspective, where it's like, hey, here's the thing that we did that you might see that seems a little strange, or this is novel, but here's the reason why, and try to use that as a learning experience. And so just today, like I was showing one of our live views, and I was like, oh, here's a way you can reduce memory usage on a live view, because live views are processes that are long lived, and they live on a server as long as someone has a web page open, right? And coming from someone who's primarily Rails developer, has Rails background, he's like, oh, like I didn't even forgot that live views are just sticking around, like that's a concern that you have to think about when you're dealing with these things, is that you have state living on the server for a long time. And so if you can easily, if you can optimize for that, or you might have to optimize for that, especially if you've got a lot of traffic, right? Or you have really big or deep data model where you've got lots of stuff preloaded in memory. You want to sort of minimize that. So
Right.
little sort of teaching moments like that, I think are go a long way in sort of building the rapport with whoever you're working with or for.
Yeah. But I think like, I don't know, it's always encouraging to hear about those things too. So I kind of mentioned that I've been getting out of a bit of a rut and feeling, I don't know, just good about my skills and good about stuff that I'm working on. And it feels nice to be back there. I felt like I haven't really been in the groove like I was at DK for a long time, a very long time. But I'm getting back there, and it's fun to be in a place where, you know, some side projects where like the boring stuff is done, like auth is done, you know, how I'm storing things is decided and done. My ORMs are like, those are done. So now I'm just like, okay, what problems, I have the tools now, what problems need solving here? And so just kind of like sitting down and brainstorming something I want to build and just building it, and it feels nice. So I think that's kind of like, it's giving me momentum, and it's keeping my momentum going, right? So it's sort of like a building on a thing, which has been really awesome.
Yeah, the feeling of acceleration and momentum.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, and
It's hard to quantify, but sometimes you just have to like feel it, I guess.
right, and it's also, I think, also partly attributed to I'm finding tools that I like. I'm starting to like get my toolbox with when it comes to like Node or TypeScript. So yeah, it just so happens to be that I found those things, and so now I'm beyond the I have to look something up every time I want to do something kind of approach, which really like what I wanted to get to was past that, so that way I can start thinking about concepts and trying to implement things that are difficult. So that feels fun, like way over engineering your side projects, right? Like that's the thing.
That's the thing. Well, the
Yeah.
other thing is you're not spending time researching a million different options to solve your problem. Now you know, like you said, you've got your tool set. You don't have to go sort of looking for it every time.
Yeah, so maybe I can talk. I don't know if this is interesting because, again, it's all TypeScript. But so the stuff I'm working with now, like I'm using what's it called? Prisma. I'm using Prisma for my ORM layer because, honestly, the docs are good and the experience has been great so far. Those are the two big. Well, I haven't used it a ton. Like I haven't gotten way deep yet, but it's been nice to work with, and the docs are super complete. So it feels good, and it's been really nice, honestly. Like just running npm or npx Prisma Studio and just having the database GUI, you know, just there. It's convenient.
In a browser.
In the browser, it's convenient.
That's
okay,
cute. That's cute.
and yeah, it's convenient. And then having that available in production too. I'm using Railway, but you could do this other ways. I just run Railway, you know, Prisma Studio, and now I got my production database I can tinker with if I want to there. So Jamie's like, change this thing. I'm like, okay, Prisma Studio, it's done. You know, I don't have to build anything for it. It's nice. So yeah, I'm using Prisma for that. Also having the database layer be kind of type safe is really nice. So everything's auto completed. All my options are there. I don't have to think about it. I can just type in, you know, tab, enter, tab, enter, tab, enter, and the thing works, which is really nice, to be honest.
Not Active Record. .NET was doing that from day one with their ADO.NET.
Right. Yeah. But like, you know, I think Elixir LS has it now, where it can complete your attributes, your model, not models. Sorry, what are they called?
Schemas.
Your schemas. Yeah, you can get schema completion. I don't. Those little quality of life things really add up for me.
Is the plural of schema?
I think so.
Or schemas? I feel like schema's already plural. Anyway.
Yeah. So it's been fine. I've been Matt. What's up, Matt? Schemai.
Schemai.
Let's see. So Prisma, I've been using Remix a bit, and it's fine. It's pretty early days still, so I've been messing with Next too, and I guess it probably would be good to be familiar with Next anyway, for work things possibly. So again,
especially with some of the cool stuff that Next has coming down the pipeline with like we were talking a few weeks ago about the I forget what the feature was called. The server side rendering, basically, right, where it caches pages on the fly.
Oh, incremental.
Yeah.
Incremental generation.
Yeah, seems pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. And then SSG isn't needed for everything. SSR rather isn't needed for everything, but I don't know. Next has a nice way of working with it, and Next has quite a few middlewares for authentication, which work really well too. So there's like a few big ones that there's like one called Next Auth, I think, that it will even like add tables to your database. Basically, it's like the whole thing. Like it's the whole auth experience there, and it has adapters for social login and everything. I'm not using that. The one I picked was Next Iron Session, which is basically actually patterned off of how Rails does authentication out of the box. So you have a cookie that you just encode data into and decode data out of the cookie when you need it. So of course there's some trade-offs around that, but it works great, simple, easy, approachable, and I can continue using Firebase for my authentication stuff. So works great.
Cool.
Yeah, that's basically it. And Tailwind. So aside from that, like everything else, is just TypeScript or just JS or just Node, whatever. So, I mean, Next gives you API routes. So essentially you have, APIs that you can build on the fly, routes here and there for things you might need without having to move it to a whole external service. That's a little bit rough around the edges because they sort of have their own. Like when I was talking about with Remix, how they use the platform, like they have the request and response objects from the browser in Node based, like they're equivalent. They're not exactly the same, but they're equivalent. Well, the Next is just not that at all. It's very different. So I was like, request, okay, I should have, oh, no, it's not there. What about, oh, that's not there either. What about, nope, that's not there either. So you end up ultimately bolting something called like Next Connect in. So basically Connect style middleware that was kind of made popular by Express, but it's like request response next function kind of thing. You have a function, takes 3 arguments, they're always the same. And if it doesn't error, you call Next and it moves on to the next stack of the pipeline. That's basically it. So you can toss that into Next if you want, and now you got your Express style API endpoints. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty like once you learn that, it's like now it's pretty simple. Basically like essentially very few dependencies, and then once you get into that land, you basically can do whatever you want to. So you basically can just make your own. If you want to use DDD, you can do that. If you don't, you can not use it. You can just build the app however you want to.
I totally forgot about that pattern of like having this Next function that lets you asynchronously like trigger something in a pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting weird flashbacks to, I think it was Fay WebSocket in the Ruby gem. It was
familiar.
It was a WebSocket client and server, and I believe the server portion, the way you implemented middlewares was like that, where you implemented a couple of functions, but you got in this sort of next thing that you could call when you were done, ready for the next thing in the pipeline. And I think I also implemented one just for fun as like a general purpose pipeline thing, I think in Ruby.
Yeah.
Anyway, doesn't matter. But
well, I guess what's kind of nice about it is that it's so prevalent in the ecosystem. If you needed to spin something out to a different service, you could essentially copy and paste a lot of stuff as a starting point. And then you just keep the URL and the next route as like a little shim, and it's there. It's fine. So for example, with Rodinia, when you share a story, especially like I primarily use it on my phone. So I don't want to have to like go and copy the URL, paste it, go back, like swipe right on my thumb, go back, click the title, paste it in the thing. I actually just want to paste the URL, have it go and fetch the metadata of the page for me and fill out the form, and then I can tweak as needed. So that won't really work client side because a lot of these sites don't have cores enabled. The request won't go through. So all I did was I made an API endpoint for fetching metadata that just happens on the server.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy. It's easy. Yeah, it was a nice, just simple solution. So worked great. So essentially, that's how the authentication works now with my Next stuff is that I just have login, log out, and viewer endpoints, and the front end just uses it.
Why don't you just use JWT, Sean? What if you have to invalidate the session, Sean?
Again, I would have sold the company by this point before I have to worry about these things. Yeah, But no, I feel the tools feel familiar and they feel well documented and they're popular. So it's easy to look up things that I might not know how to do or get inspired by things that people are doing. So
How customizable do you get with your Tailwind?
not really at all.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, because yeah, things can look. You're a good designer, so I imagine you probably play with it. You can make Tailwind not look like Tailwind, unlike me.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not very motivated to do that at this point, but I probably should be or will be at one point in the future.
When you can hire a designer, when you can afford to hire a designer, right?
So yeah, so like Matt's like, does it scale? And if it doesn't, I just slap Crystal on a server. And
I think he's trolling. I think Matt's trolling.
He definitely is. I just wanted to bring Crystal up. Yeah. So I don't know. It feels good. It feels the tools are simple. They're approachable. I know I've complained a lot about in the past about having to rebuild stuff, but the amount of glue I'm having to do right now is really pretty minimal, to be honest. I think that's largely in part of just using Firebase for auth. Like that whole side of it's just, I don't have to deal with it. So I think that really helped a lot.
Excuse me. Yeah, we're having the auth discussion with our client on their application now. Like, we just have a very, very, very basic thing in there now that, just it's basically hand rolled and it works. But now we're having which package do you use? Do we roll our own? That whole thing in Elixir land, and
yeah,
a lot of options there for sure.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff to be just done, I guess, right? So, I mean, that kind of like segues into a conversation I was having with Matt here. I hope you don't mind, Matt, if I talk about this a little bit, but we were talking about that. He does some streaming in the Crystal Discord sometimes, just working on Lucky and Avram, I think it's called, right? The Crystal ORM for Lucky. And I sort of asked, like, why are you, you kind of working in this ecosystem? And it reminds me of earlier on in Elixir where you needed something it shouldn't exist, but you didn't necessarily have the time to write it and maintain it, or, the energy to write it and maintain it. So, you kind of get stuck in that land a little bit. And his answer was really actually cool, like something I had not considered. And he basically said that he started getting into Crystal because the opportunity was right and the level of complexity of getting involved in it was right. So it feels much more difficult to say contribute to Rails these days, right? Or contribute to Ruby, or contribute to some of these mature things that have been around for years and years and years. The barrier to entry maybe is just really high. Whereas with Crystal, the opportunity was there to work on things that he was interested in, work on a compiler, work on an ORM. And because the barrier to entry wasn't so high, it was easier to kind of get in there and do those things that seem sort of unattainable. Like I wouldn't think that I could work on an ORM personally, right? But Matt was like, you can. You just, you have to find something where the barrier to entry isn't so high that it doesn't discourage you from getting started.
Yeah, I mean, take Bodyguard, for example. My friend Eric, I wrote it, and this was many years ago. This is Elixir 1.2, 1.3, like pre-context days, right? And he's like, this is really early on for Elixir and Phoenix. This could be the next Rails. You should just release this just because like you said, it's early days. The barrier to entry is pretty low, and people, you saw a need for it. Other people could use it. And so he basically like made me release it on a dare. That's what it felt like.
You won't.
Like, fine, whatever. Yeah, right. And here I am with, it's got quite a number of users, which is cool. But
yeah,
and that's
cool.
It's a small, very, very simple library. I haven't had to maintain it and grow it over the years, thank God. Just kind of keep it up to date. It's not like a constant labor of love or anything. So that part is easier. In terms of, it's not maintaining a full RM, right? But
yeah,
the point is completely valid and totally true. And it almost feels not manipulative, but like you're taking advantage of the situation. But that's you're adding to the ecosystem, right? You're the amount of effort to grow the thing is much lower.
And I think that maybe, and again, I haven't done this, but I think that the maybe satisfaction is a little bit higher too, because you could, build a package that already exists 100 times over for Node, or you could build it for Crystal and doesn't exist yet, and people could actually, like, there's actual need for it. So to me, that would be more satisfying, or I'd feel like I would enjoy that a little bit more if I were releasing something that was necessary. So I felt like, I think like part of this momentum that I've got going on is I forgot how much I enjoyed sort of looking at a thing that's been done that I've done and sort of looking at it and breaking it down and how can I do this better? What's a different approach? Is there a different approach here? What have I learned since the last time I looked at this that I can use to make it better? And I feel like I'm starting to get into that spot again, which makes me feel like I can actually see the differences. Like last time I worked on this was the only thing I could come up with. Now when I'm looking at it, it's a stupid, right? So you kind of like feel the gains or the growth that you've made. So I think that's the other part of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking about, hold on, I had another point. God, I guess what else? Other thing I wanted to say was that also it's just more fun working on greenfield things. It sucks to reinvent the wheel, but it's fun doing a cool new thing, especially if it's informed by mistakes that were made by all the previous things that you're sort of replicating. That does feel good. It just feel really it's really satisfying.
Yeah. And it has also been a lot of fun too, because the side project that I'm working on now with Jamie, another friend of mine's actually working on it too, just for fun. And that's been cool, just to like look at the GitHub and, oh, this card moved into a different column and I didn't do it. That's kind of fun. And we look at it, So it's been nice. I don't know. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to move to MetaLab anyways, for working with more people, and I'm definitely getting that now. But I didn't realize how much. I'm sure at some point it could be stressful, like, that feeling of ownership or control. Sometimes you want to maintain that, but currently it's more motivating than anything. And I think the big thing is that for this project, again, like I'm going to reference a blog post that Greg Shear wrote, where like, side projects always, you don't have to approach them like a business. It could be for fun. It could be a throwaway. It could be for learning, experimentation, or whatever. And so I've been working really hard to sort of remove that from my brain, that always be grinding, always be whatever mentality that I've gotten over the years.
It doesn't have to be a hustle.
It doesn't have to be a hustle. Honestly, I was talking with, we have these things that, not a thing, we have a robot that schedules calls with people that you've never met before in the company. So every couple of weeks, it'll just say, you two have a Zoom chat. They're called donut calls. And I met somebody and she is a musician as well. And so we were just talking about that and sort of equating it. She's a designer and we're sort of, just kind of like trying to find a common ground to relate to each other. And she was asking me about the music stuff and why, like, do I still play? Do I enjoy it? Would I do it again? All that stuff. And I think a lot of my not enjoying it honestly came from me being younger and me being insecure about myself. And I think that really had a lot to do with it. The fact that that there's so many musicians and that there's so many, like, there was always a joke like around Nashville, like, you go and get a coffee and your barista's a better musician than you would ever be. The barista plays 3 instruments, and you only play 1. And so that sort of, I don't know why that weighed on me so heavily, but it made me insecure and it made me feel like I had to always be grinding and working and hustling, right? And that wasn't healthy for me. And so it kind of, I didn't enjoy it anymore, right? And so I think now I'm starting to like maybe process some of this stuff and work through it and deal with it. And yeah, so didn't think I'd be talking about that at all, but I'm maybe starting to realize that, things I'm working on recently, like I've been learning about myself in this way and I'm translating to stuff I'm doing that way. So.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I really like the idea of those random calls. That sounds like fun. Yeah, that was one of my sort of hangups was when joining Dockyard was like, you're just sort of thrown into it, into a professional relationship with a bunch of people you've never met before and don't know, at all dynamics or anything about them as people, right? And I want to know, like, I like to have that connection with people, not just, as two code monkeys staring at each other over a long wire across the internet, So obviously I've gotten to know people I work with now a little bit more, but I still wish there was more opportunity for me, especially with remote work, to forge those bonds, bridge those gaps.
Yeah, we're trying really hard with my teams, particularly, to sort of do that, but also make sure that we don't feel like we're in Groundhog Day every day, right? Because California is open now, but Canada isn't. So they're not, able to go to the office or go to a coffee shop or sort of get out a little bit. And I know that feeling, like when I moved to Vermont, I didn't have a car and I couldn't walk anywhere because we were in the middle of nowhere. So, Jamie's like, you're losing your mind. You got to get out of the house. And so she signed me up for jiu-jitsu, right? But, with the pandemic, you don't have that out. You can't go and train jiu-jitsu, or you can maybe go for a bike ride or something, but it's just different, So we've been trying to find ways to change it up, whether that's doing co-working sessions via Zoom in the afternoons, or doing more pair programming exercises, or before some meetings, just lighten up a little bit, tell some jokes, things like that. So yeah.
I tried to I mentioned earlier about how we have code sharing calls with the client, and I tried to propose at our last stand-up, hey, this would be cool. It's strictly optional, just, you don't have to come if you're busy or don't care, but like, it'd be cool to have some calls internally for like talking about code stuff. And I actually had to miss the stand-up because I was away, but apparently it was just completely shot down, which is totally fine. Like, I get it. I didn't really, that's kind of what I expected, to be honest, but I guess enough people have enough meetings as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever.
I mean, my meeting, I was on the horn yesterday for like 5 hours. So
yeah. I mean, I basically am pairing 24/7, or not 24/7, but pairing 8 hours a day, more or less. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's good. It's productive, but it's exhausting.
Yeah. So Matt brings up an interesting point here. He says that my wife and I had a few convos about the value of homemade when it comes to tech, and that's been leading me to look for hobbies outside of programming. I want value of creating things for myself, my family, and programming doesn't do that. I totally feel that. And I think oftentimes for me, sometimes I feel like programming is the only way I know how to do that. And what that really means is just get away from the computer more and learn how to do it other ways, for me anyway. But yeah, I think for a long time I sort of like searched for, and I still probably do now, even like search for that feeling in tech, which has come from.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine your relationship with music is, I don't know, still pretty fraught. Like, you still probably view it as work, right? Making music. Yeah, you can't just chill and noodle on something.
I think if it were jamming with people, I'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I had friends to play with, I'd probably be okay about it. But there's something about like, I mean, I would go and sit in a bus, and I would bring my guitar in the bus, and I would sit and play and practice and practice and practice. So it was sort of like a laptop. The laptop goes everywhere kind of thing, right? So that muscle memory haven't atrophied for whatever reason. It should, but it hasn't. But I think it'd be okay if I had some people to jam with or something.
Or like pick up a new instrument just to screw around with it. See what you get.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about like getting a drum kit at some point or something like that. So maybe turn into the animal from the Muppets.
There's no expectation there then, right? You're not setting yourself up for failure.
I think I would just be mad that I weren't good yet.
That's why you just be a drum programmer.
That's always one of the most frustrating things to me, though, is like mentally you can, if you pick up a guitar and you haven't played it in a long time, mentally it's there, but physically it's not. Your fingers just can't do what your mind wants them to do.
Mm-hmm.
and it's frustrating.
Yep. 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 Well,
So yeah, I'm feeling pretty. Hopefully, in the next couple of episodes, I'll have some like actual tech stuff to break down that I've been working on. So
what do you mean it's actual tech stuff? You just talked to us a half hour for
well, like
TypeScript
features.
internals.
Well, I mean like features that I'm building. So this weekend I'm gonna try. So I don't think maybe I've mentioned Rodinia before. It's basically just a Reddit clone of sorts, but like something that Jamie and I wanted to work on for fun, and it's focusing on environmental law and policy and conservation and stuff. So eventually we want to have like educational content on it as well. But right now it's just a Reddit clone. And so instead of just upvotes and downvotes, I wanted to add emoji reactions to stories. And so I'm modeling out like how I want to approach that, like different approaches, and how I want to like handle rendering the emojis. Like, do I just want to reach for a library? Do I want to try building it? It could be fun to build that because I haven't really learned about Unicode and different things of that nature. So I think there's some opportunities for learning and fun in that project.
Did you see that that fun Unicode snippet I posted in our Discord the other day?
Yeah, I saw Wes Boss at one point on Twitter a while back doing the same thing, like with the family emoji, how it's like 4 individual distinct entities somehow.
Yeah, so basically I wrote this in Elixir. You can pattern match on strings, but only if the string is at the beginning. And so what I did was I wrote a function that checks like, is the boy emoji at the beginning of a string? And so, you check it with a poop emoji and it says no. And you check it with the boy emoji and it says yes. But then if you have a string that is like the family emoji that has a boy in it, that also passes. Even though it's one single thing. And what's especially weird is VS Code's terminal actually displays it wrong. It doesn't know how to handle it. So in iTerm, if you type in the family emoji, it's a single character with 3 people all huddled together, right? But if you take that same thing and copy it over to VS Code's terminal, it looks like 3 individual, characters next to each other. So strange. And just the vagaries of Unicode are boundless.
The vagaries of Unicode are boundless. Yeah. So, I mean, I already know how like the database can look. That's not that hard really for that side of it, but I want to try to think about, okay, that was solution number 1. What's 2 and 3? I want to try to practice that a little bit more with stuff. So yeah, it should be fun.
I was working on a little side project ham radio app that involved like ranking scores of people, first, second, third, fourth, fifth place. And I came upon the idea of using the gold, silver, and bronze medal emojis for first, second, and third, and just added a great little bit of color. It was fun. Everyone knows what it means. You don't have to put 1, 2, and 3. It's fine. And I don't know, just gave it a little more sort of meaning for the scoreboard thing. That was. I am very pro emoji design. I will wholeheartedly support this.
I can emoji design, but I can't design.
Rodinia was a
just,
Neoproterozoic supercontinent that assembled 1.1 to 0.9 billion years ago. Is this separate from Pangaea?
Yeah. Similar idea, though.
Precambrian supercontinent. Oh, no, it's the same thing. All right. Pangaea was renamed Rodinia.
Yeah.
Today I learned.
Yeah, so basically, the idea is this, a lot, I don't know, it feels like a lot of specifically like, nature or news or conservation news, or there'd be the listicle city, right? So, that's what this is like, a place for people that are in the know to sort of curate, not necessarily gatekeep. I don't want to be gatekeepy, but curate. We'll go curate information that you can look at, and eventually it would be cool to get more nonprofits involved as well. So, for example, Russian Riverkeeper, which is what Jamie works for, maybe we could do something with them where they could produce content, educational content or informational content. So, like particularly right now, they're doing a ton of work around the drought and water issues in Northern California, and there's a lot of wineries and there's a lot of agriculture up there, and there's a lot of conversations happening about who should have what water, and yeah. So I don't know, I think there's a lot of stuff that I would like to learn that they know, but they don't. It's just kind of like inside their company now. So eventually, I don't know what it's going to look like, but eventually it would be cool to have more educational information, or like if I want to learn about it, it kind of points me in the right direction. So,
do you you have a URL to share for Rodinia, or is it not?
Oh, it's
public yet?
Rodinia.report, but it's like there's like nothing there really.
Rodinia.report. Cool. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Yeah,
I like this design though.
it's just 2 colors, man.
I know it's just better than anything I could ever do. They're like I don't care. It's so simplistic and nice,
Yeah,
clean, and I really love. I'm a sucker for like a manila background color.
yeah, I like it. So slap some emojis on there and call it good. Eventually, you'll be able to like, I don't know, react with a sob. I don't know. I'm trying to not like, I'm sharing stories on it right now, but I'm trying not to be like doomsday with all the stuff that I'm putting on it. So yeah, eventually, it could be, working on like commenting and stuff like that. But I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead yet. It's just a space that I can continue to work on and get in maintenance and learning mode instead of, constantly the first half of a project over and over again.
I mean, freaking look at Hacker News. Like that site hasn't changed in 20 years, and it's still like already looks worse than this, or this already looks better than that.
Well, there's still time for me to ruin it.
Absolutely. I believe in you. I believe in you. What typeface is this? It's just some web thing.
The
Some web-
typeface? I don't even remember, to be honest. Yeah, so there's that. I have a couple other things too, but I haven't
It's
touched
just
them.
UI sans serif. So what is that? Probably
It could
probably
be,
SF San Francisco or something.
yeah, it's probably that, or it's either that or Enter. I can't remember. I copied something from Tailwind's website. That's all I did. Yeah.
Anyway,
Wow. So WebQueen's saying that a town official in the Northwest had students use their data tables to help plan rerouting of a river. That's really interesting. Yeah, that's the kind of like I would like to be involved in some of those things. So, someone asked me about my trash cleanup app the other day, and that I was working on to learn React, and it would still be fun to make that.
I remember that.
I'm convinced that the people that go to trash cleanups will never use an app. You can't even get them to sign a waiver. Hey, sir, will you sign this? No, I'm good. And just walks off with the bag and the picker thing.
I mean, can you blame him?
No. So anyway.
Rodinia.report. Yep.
Well,
it's such a new top level domain that it's not even recognized by Notion.
really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that.
I had a fun bug. Not really a bug, but it just sort of mystified me for a minute. Was I needed to start testing subdomain support for Dockyard for the app.
Mm-hmm.
And so what have I always done? I go into my Etsy host file, I make, appname.dev, and I make like a subdomain.app.dev, right? And so then I went to that, I made the host file, and then navigated to the URL, and it wouldn't connect. Just sit there. It's like, what? It's clearly could, was resolving, was trying to thing, but could not connect to the server. Any guesses what was going on there? So I look, I'm like, wow, why is it HTTPS? So I took out HTTP, changed to HTTP, pressed enter, or just changed it right to HTTPS. It's like, what is going on here? And then I remembered that .dev is now an actual top level domain, like it's a real one.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ones that is HTTPS only.
Really?
Yeah, it's a TLD that is only allowed to serve HTTPS over it. And so Safari just doesn't even try the HTTP version. It just freaking rewrites the URL and sends it. That was a fun one.
Gotta fix my camera quick. The cord is a little fiddly.
No worries. So yeah, I ended up just doing like .local or something, but really fun. There you are.
All right. So basically, you can't plug it all the way in, otherwise it goes into data mode. So you have to put the USB cord far enough in to charge it, but not actually connect it. So
I have a USB cord lying around here that only does power. It only has power delivery pins wired up, which, like, sometimes I forget that I should just throw it out because I try to plug something in, it won't recognize. Like, what's going on here? Right. Yeah.
Like the Apple power cords, like it's USB-C, and so you're like, I'm going to use this, and it's data, or it's power only, no data.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, Paul. Exactly.
Yeah, seeing Matt, where you accidentally type HTTPS or something, and it keeps automatically switching you over.
That's funny. It's probably like some kind of default thing, like because it's trying to get you on the happy path to use, SSL, if it knows that it knows that it can, right?
Right.
They're talking on Accidental Tech Podcast today about that and how new Safari will, if you go to, say, for example, Facebook, it'll automatically, send you to the secure version, but they'll only do it for like some whitelisted set of sites that they know are known good SSL sites. They won't like automatically try SSL first. So if you go to some little dinky website that no one knows about, it won't do the redirect for you.
Does anyone know how to get candle wax off of a mouse pad?
More candles?
Well, I have this candle on my desk so I can warm my hands up in the morning. And I just blew it out because I was just using it. And now there's candle wax on my desk or my mouse pad.
No, that's good. The wax is your mouse pad for improved speed.
I don't
performance.
want it. I don't want it on there.
Just like waxing your board, right?
I don't want that either because I have to clean the surfboard. Grosses me out. All right. Well.
So that was a good, a lot of talking for literal empty show notes. I would post a screenshot in the chat, but there's literally nothing to see.
Or sanding your board, as Brian Wilson would say. Why? Oh, I guess. Yeah, if you're making one. Or fixing one. Like one time I got hit by a stand-up paddleboarder when I was surfing, and he put a hole in my board, and so I had to like epoxy it and sand it down. So I guess you could be sanding your board there. And also
I'm sure it's that paddleboarder who hit you, not you who hit them.
No, they hit me. Seriously. Okay, so do you know the rules of surfing? The rules of the wave? Person closest to the inside of the curl gets, like, they have right away.
Okay.
So in our situation, if I'm looking, curl's on the right and the outside it's on the left, the person on the right has the right of way.
Okay.
So the other thing to know is that, I guess like the difference between a surfboard and a stand-up paddleboard, right? A regular surfboard is way smaller. A stand-up paddleboard is like a semi-truck.
Right.
So I am surfing. I'm not riding the wave. I'm coming back, and so I'm going left to the outside. I'm paddling left, away from everybody.
Got it.
Stand-up paddleboarder is new, and the wave was coming up. This person lost balance. I'm going left. The person lost balance, and their stand-up shot forward and slammed into me. So basically, I saw it coming, and I rolled, and it actually like hit my board, and then hit me in the chin, like on the cheek, and then like glanced off. So yes, they were doing the hitting, Rockwell.
Fair enough. You can't ride a wave if you're paddleboarding, can you? You're not really.
You can, but not where this person was. Like they
Sure.
shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been where they were.
Travesty.
Yeah, travesty. People were mad about it, and they ran them off. So, thank you, people.
That's maritime pirate law. You're in international waters, right? Anything goes.
I was inside the kelp bed. Still, we're pretty close. Pretty close to the rocks.
There was an old cut of Surfing USA where they said sanding down our surfboard instead of waxing.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Well, maybe you just you don't want to go too fast. You just want to hang out and.
Well, then you'd be like leaking styrofoam everywhere, or like you get waterlogged and you sink.
Well, no, like making it rough instead of smooth. I don't know. Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, you want the top to be rough, but that's what the wax is for.
That was a joke from Dave Barry in Cyberspace. Wax your modem for improved speed.
I'm not familiar.
Shout out Dave Barry in Cyberspace. Anyway,
I'm sad about this candle wax on my otherwise pristine mouse pad,
just heat it up, man. It's candle wax. It literally will melt. I promise you.
and it would melt my mouse pad.
Probably.
I have to buy a new one now.
Oh, shame.
I'm just gonna keep looking at it. All right, so what did we talk about today? TypeScript. Yeah. So I want to know how TypeScript makes people feel. That's all. That's simple. That's all I need to know.
You can let them know on Twitter. You can let us know on Twitter. DNCcast is our username, screen name, whatever you want to call it. Sean is Sean Washbot, and I'm Shrockwell. We have a link in the chat from WebQueen, lifehacker.com/how to remove candle wax from your stuff.
That'll be there. Yeah, if you need that link, there's some numbers on the end of it. If you need it, you can get it in the show notes at dnc.show.
Don't just go to that thing that I said.
Well, you didn't
And
say
it,
that.
it is HTTPS, just,
But
since
you didn't
we got to
include,
be
like-
clear about it now.
You didn't include the 5834457 that's appended to the end of the URL.
It's low. It's kebab case, Sean.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot of show notes, a whole page of links here. DNC.show. You can find them there, and also in the podcast player of your choice. I don't know if you know this, but your podcast player has show notes. Just scroll down. Apple Podcasts. It's there. I promise you. It's just hiding. Although I need to check because apparently now they're stripping out HTML from a lot of the public feeds.
Really?
So I wonder if our show notes are all gunked up now. Checking. Oh. I used to actually listen to our episodes before I had to edit them. They are poorly formatted, but functional. The links work. So, but it looks like garbage. So it goes.
What can you do?
Use a better podcast player. We're also streaming on Twitch Thursday night, 6 Pacific, 9 Eastern, twitch.tv/DNCcast. Come on by. It's a lot of fun. And we'd love to see your face. So you're seeing our face, but we're, seeing your metaphorical avatar face in the chat.
Yeah. And if you can't make it, but you still want to hang out with us and the other people of the DNC community, we have a Discord available. So again, if you go to the aforementioned podcast player and you swipe down, there'll be a link to an invite to Discord, and you should join it.
Shout out to new Discord friend Aki, who we had a very heated discussion about starter Pokemon. Apparently, he is a trader. He had Pokemon Blue, but he used Charmander as his starter. So, shame on you, Aki, for not going with the blue. Although I guess I did have Pokemon Red.
Yeah, you started it.
Bulbasaur.
You started this fight. I'm looking at it now.
I mean, hey, just trying to have a lively conversation.
Yeah.
But Squirtle starter all the way. Just saying, for the record.
Well, that's that.
That is that. Cool. I'll talk to you later.
All right, see ya.
Bye. No, you hang up. I had a couple things I wanted to address here in the chat. Let me stop the recording. Thomas, welcome to Virginia. How did your move go? I didn't realize it was happening so soon. But that is exciting. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, Rockwell, we can't hear you now. I was really confused for a minute. I was like, maybe it's just me. So I was looking at a loop back.
I'm sorry. I just did like a whole thing. All right, when did you stop hearing me? I'm so sorry. Okay, so Thomas, about the move.
Yeah, something around there.
And I was Paul. Yeah, so Dave Barry, man, I got hooked to Dave Barry after reading Dave Barry in Cyberspace, and then would always read his stuff in the papers, and I got a ton of his books. Tons and tons of books of his. So good. Starts to be pretty predictable after a while, but it just sometimes it gets you. Sometimes it just gets you. What was really great was when I was learning American history in I guess it was middle school. I don't remember, but we did American history like 1 and 2 or whatever, and his book on American history came out right about that time, and so I like understood all the references, right? And man, that was just that was great. You don't want to be reading Dave Barry in a room with someone because you'll be like giggling every 5 seconds, and they're just going to tell you to shut up or go somewhere else. Yeah, good stuff. For those who don't know, Dave Barry was a humor columnist for the Miami Herald. Just very funny. He wrote a bunch of books and collections of his. He wrote a couple times a week. He'd write funny articles about things. Very Americana style. Like, I don't know, just the most American of like writers. Were
they funny?
The best way I can describe it, huh?
They're funny stories.
No, it's more like some personal anecdote stuff, but sometimes it was like politics or news or just offbeat stuff.
But it was funny?
Yes. Did I say that? Did I mention that it was funny? It's literally his job to make you laugh.
Humorous, I'd say. That's cool.
Yep. Good stuff.
Are you thinking about going to ElixirConf, Rockwell?
That's a great question. I am thinking about it. Would be cool to meet some dockyarders in person, and I don't know, see if I can swing it. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a talk. Maybe I'll submit a paper.
Bodyguard, the little package that could. Against all odds.
549 stars in a movie.
6 seasons in a movie. See, you are watching Community.
I know that show. The references now.
I know that show like the backside of my chain.
Yep. Glad to hear the move went well, Thomas. 3 pieces. Winona survived. Office Space.
I have seen Office Space. Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Welcome.
That's a cool name. Ebernart. That's fun to say. Yes, Office Space. Absolutely. I got my red stapler right. There we go. Office wouldn't be complete without it. And if you take it, I'll burn the whole building down. That makes sense.
I should rewatch. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Classic Mike Judge. Yeah, when you're a kid, it's funny because, look at these doofs in their cubicles. And then when you're an adult, then it's funny because it's sad and funny. Yeah, I think it has aged pretty well. Definitely one of the more quotable ones growing up. And it's so funny seeing Stephen Root. He plays boy, what's his name?
Lawrence
Milton. I think his name's Milton. And it's so funny seeing him in stuff because I can't just keep thinking of him as Milton. The guy who plays Lawrence is funny too. That's the guy from like Drew Carey, right? Yeah, that's the thing about the cubicle thing is I've mentioned this before on the show. Like I had a cubicle at a job for 2 years, and it was freaking great. I loved it. You know, I mean, yeah, an office would be better, but like I had my space. It was pretty quiet. Noises were pretty muffled. I could put things where I needed them, and they wouldn't move. Yeah.
They wouldn't move.
You know, it's like I think in open office spaces you don't really have. You might have like a little rolly filing cabinet that you can lock, and that's pretty much it, right? Like you can't leave stuff there.
I just left craft on my desk.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, there was only like 12 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I like. Yeah, it doesn't count. I like my. Well, I did work at a cubicle right after college. I thought it sucked pretty hard, but the job just sucked. So.
What do you do if you're an open floor plan and you have to like be on a call? Do you just go somewhere else?
Yeah, it's usually like meeting rooms off to the side. It's basically a co-working space, right?
I guess, yeah. I just never really thought about that.
But then there's a guy in the next like call booth to you, and he's like screaming about crypto on the phone. You hear it, right? Yeah, the crying booth, yeah. Where you barely have any cell phone reception. If you have to have a call, you're hoping that this is not like a phone call.
It seems like there's an Office Space sequel in the works here.
I mean, so for a while when Jamie was interning in San Francisco, I would, it was just a pretty bad drive, so I would go with her to make sure that, you know, if I needed to drive, I could, or, you know, keep each other awake and stuff. And so I would work at a co-working spot up there. I forget what it's called now, but there was this startup, like it was like a hardware startup that rented just a table in the middle of the room, and every day they would cart in their backpacks and take out all this gear and throw all these wires everywhere every single day. At the end of the day, they would pack it up. At the end of the day, it turned into like a party space bar. And so they're like, all right, everyone's got to pack up. And they're like packing up all these like gear, every single day.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yep. It was funny because different startups would rent different tables, but it was all in the same open office. And then you would just be like sitting at a table, and then the startup would just like take the other end of the table. And so you're just amongst them.
Was there any like socializing aspect to it, or you're literally just
No.
sharing space with someone? No, not at all.
You
No
only talk to
mingling?
people you knew.
Weird. Seems like such a missed opportunity, right?
That's how I do business usually, though.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I don't. It was just weird. It just awkward. I think like people are, they had their headphones on and they had their laptops on risers and they had their mechanical keyboards in there, and I don't know, it was just doing whatever they're doing. Didn't want to bother them.
yeah. When I was solo, like having a co-working space, it did seem kind of appealing because there's the networking opportunity, which I wouldn't normally have, and then just socializing and like just having an excuse to share ideas with other people and stuff, and like it's hard when you're isolated and doing that, but man, I would not want to drive somewhere just to sit on my computer anymore.
Yeah, we would park and she would walk to where she needed to go. Like I'd walk with her there, and then I would walk to the co-working spot. The co-working spot, Paul probably would know this area, but it was on the corner of Mission and 7th. So I would have to walk up like 6th Street or 7th Street all the way from like pretty far away, like a mile and a half. And there was always something happening, that's for sure. It was all right though. It was cool though, because I got to see people that I hadn't seen in a while. Yeah. Paul's like, that's a sketchy area. Yep. Jamie actually forbid me to walk on 6th Street, but sometimes I cut through it. You're not allowed to go on that street, because that's where they set up like all the little bazaars outside. There was like a half of a block where these people would put their towels out and they would just like sell knives and crap.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah,
Like the flea market.
it was basically a flea market, yeah. But yeah, I didn't really hang out there too much. So like I would go and see Nabil because he worked nearby at Credit Karma, and I'll go see Topher because he worked nearby at New Relic, and just other people that were around. Saw Chris a couple of times because he worked at Twitch. That's a little bit of a haul, but just kind of see people I hadn't seen in a while, so that was cool.
Cool.
My favorite though was when all these like conferences would come to the Moscone Center, and I'd have to try to walk around, and there's people freaking everywhere. Or you try to go get lunch and you can't. There's people everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That's yeah. WWDC, right?
Yep. Or like VMware Conf or whatever. I don't know. some conference, like lots of polo shirts
Salesforce.
and lanyards and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was really cool to kind of mix things up.
Dreamforce. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember Topher took me around to, because part of the New Relic offices are in the Salesforce Tower. So he just like would,
Okay.
all right, let's go over here now. I'm like, okay, we get in an elevator, walk through a skyway. Here's the kitchen for this office. Cool. Here's the office. All right, let's go over there now. Get back in the elevator, go through another skyway. Here's this office. This office has a different kitchen. Yeah.
So wild that all this stuff was all just within walking distance like that.
How many kitchens are in the Salesforce Tower? I don't even know. Multiple on every floor, it seems like, and they're all stocked with stuff.
You ever been to the Facebook campus?
I've been, not Facebook, I've been to Google's
Oh, okay.
a couple of times.
Facebook campus was wild because it's like an entire it's like, where are all the adults? Is there an adult in here anywhere? It's just entirely, company run by like 20 somethings. It was just mind blowing. And lots of kitchens there too. Lots of kitchens.
You're
It's
needed
actually,
in,
the entire parking lot was triple parked. Like it was just valet only. You just drive up and they just park your car because everything's all like Jenga'd in or Tetris'd in the parking spot because there's no room. And the campus is actually an old HP campus. So like they just it's weird, super weird. And then Zuck's office is just like right in the middle of it, and it's just a big glass office. He's just there, like doing work or taking calls and stuff, right in the middle where everyone can see him. Like
Yeah.
that's his office. And then there's a little sign that says, please do not disturb the animals or something.
I liked that. My favorite part about the Google campus was just the food. It's like going to Old Country Buffet or some crap in there. You just walk up, get whatever you want, and leave.
Yep.
Sounds like Shine Ryan got a Moonlander as well. Crew's growing. You'll get the hang of it.
I'm still working through mine. I still trip up on like special characters and arrow keys and just kind of generally moving around them. I had the idea today that it'd be fun to like put in some macros for Elixir specific things like defining functions or, whatever, like just little tiny macros here and there just to see if it would kind of speed things up.
Isn't that that's called a snippet?
Yeah, I know you can do it. Yeah, I know you can do it software, but it'd be fun to have it in the keyboard, I think.
CFO.
Although the way, even on its fastest speed, the when it plays back the macros, it's pretty slow playing them back. I don't know if we can speed it up.
I haven't really used them. So I've been using this thing called Raycast quite a bit, and it has snippets built into it. So I've been using that. So I haven't really used macros too much on Moonlander. A pipe key, nice.
Yeah, I have a pipe key as well. Yep.
I'd probably
actually
do that,
it is my it's my normal pipe key, but I just use a different modifier for it. Yeah. I should 3D print some like custom caps for those things.
A witch's hat. Right.
Witch's hat.
The Wicked Witch of the West that was killed, or was the East? East was one that was killed by the house.
Yes, that's correct. That is canon.
It checks out. Auto shift? I don't actually use auto shift.
I couldn't. It drove me crazy. I had to turn that off immediately because it caused every single key to lag, because it's the same problem with iOS. When you tap something in Safari, there's a lag because it's waiting for you to long press or double press or do something weird. And the auto shift is the same thing. If it does that on every single keystroke, there's lag. Instantly off. Just
I probably don't type as fast. I turned it off because it jacks up Vim mode.
Oh, yeah. The guy I pair program with, he uses Emacs with Vim key bindings or something.
Evil mode.
Yeah. Crazy. It's amazing watching him work. He was talking, he has the, he sold his Moonlander, but he's using, I forget which one he said, but similar QMK thing. It has I don't know what the point was. But
Doom Emacs. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I forget which one he said he was using. There's like an older one and a newer one. I don't know, man. I just use a mouse. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here.
Boom. It's fine. I think that I've been using Vim stuff for so long that it's more frustrating for me to not have it. So that's why I continue to use it. I've tried like going back, and I can get like IntelliJ's keyboard shortcuts are really good, so I can get pretty quick with it, but it still just feels. I still run into things where I'm like, I could be done already, sort of.
The one thing I saw that blew my mind was he was doing a rename of something, right? And it's a variable, but the capitalization was different, right? And so it was like variable name in lowercase and then variable name in uppercase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was able to highlight all three instances case insensitively, do the rename, but then when he hit enter, the correct capitalization took effect.
Right.
Which was just blew my mind.
Yeah. I do something similar with WebStorm where I have a
Emacs as a hobby. I just love that concept.
where you can actually like cycle through casings if you want. So you can select the variants and then just I hit a keyboard shortcut and it just like cycles through Pascal, Kebab, Screaming, whatever. I use that actually pretty often.
Oh yeah, I do that. I have a VS Code thing that does that. That's
Right.
handy. Very handy. We have confirmed it was the Wicked Witch of the East who was crushed
Had to verify.
by the house. We needed to verify that.
Trust but verify. That's right.
That's right.
Sublime
the-
Style
the-
multi-cursor. You could, I mean, Vim does have multi-cursor mode. Control V.
So first of all, Shy Ryan, I'm with you. Multi-cursor has broken my brain in a good way. Yeah, VS Code multi-cursor is pretty good. It's the only way I can think and do things anymore.
Well, I guess Control V is block editing mode, so you could do like column editing. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's probably a plugin for it, but
There's got to be, right?
yeah, I
guess-
use it. I use it all the time in WebStorm with Vim mode on.
I get so frustrated not having that in I don't remember if I'm doing like Xcode or something, which Xcode I think actually does have multi-cursor support, but I can never remember how to trigger it because it's like you need seven fingers just to trigger it.
Yeah, Control V in Vim is block editing, so it'd be more like column style. But I'm sure there's a plugin for it if you needed it.
I have taken your idea of keeping a notepad in between my keyboard halves. It's great, man. I just jot stuff down.
Right now, I have a bottle of water and a coffee in front of me between my keyboard halves. So,
So you can-
other times I have a candle so I can warm my fingers up.
and spill everywhere apparently. Yeah.
I was on a town hall call the other day, and there's 150 people on it, and I blew like my candle went out, and a puff of smoke came up, and I was like, "Oh no!"
No, it's not a remarkable. It's just dead trees. Don't read that. There are industry secrets on there. You have remarkable, right, Sean?
I don't. I have an iPad. I need to get going here soon. I'm starting to
All right.
lose that steam. Screenshot it. Oh no.
No. Are you on any of the betas yet?
Yeah, iOS beta and iPad beta. They've been fine.
Cool. What's Google's new thing that you like?
I don't really use any of the new stuff, to be honest.
Okay.
The new Safari is strange
Oh yeah.
because the stuff's at the bottom now. Like the top of the URL bar is at the bottom.
Yeah. I had to call this out to one of our designers because I was like, hey, I noticed in our mobile wireframes that a lot of the call to action buttons are like pinned to the bottom of the viewport, right? And I'm like that, there's this weird new Safari thing coming out where the address bar, not only is the address bar, I haven't played with it yet, but it can change height, but it's in front of the content, right? Oh, it changes. It goes down there, but then it appears. I assume that's dark mode, right? That's why it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me
so strange.
find a page that scrolls more.
So how do you even represent that in CSS? Like where the
Every time you scroll down.
wait,
or
what's
up.
what's left and right? Are those your other tabs?
Yep. So you can swipe on it to go to your next tab and previous tab.
It's so bad. What are you doing? What are you doing?
So I assume that it interacts with the viewport in a similar way that it has things have in the past. So like for example, if you go to Twitter mobile on your phone, the icons when you pull down, so the URL bar comes up,
Yeah.
the icons sit above the URL bar, but it's weird because it has to animate. It feels pretty janky. I have Twitter pulled up here. Let me show you.
So Shy Ryan, You know, the trick to solve that problem is you do what I do is you have a dedicated key for taking screenshots. I use it all the time. It's great.
So Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. There's that. Yeah. There's this. Yeah. Problematic. And so is the content. If you scroll down, can you see through? No, they make it black, huh? Like, is there text below the
No,
URL bar?
it sits at the bottom like that.
Right.
Yeah. So then you move.
Yeah, you see it for a split second there. So janky. I don't know who thought this was a good idea.
So I mean, it is kind of, it's nice to like not have to. I can't reach the top with my thumbs, so I have to use 2 fingers to do that. But it's real annoying. It's gonna jack with a lot of people.
What's the keyboard configurator called? Why am I blanking? The online
Oryx
thing.
or
Oryx.
YX.
Right. Oryx. I'm gonna post my config in the chat, and you probably should too. Give Ryan some ideas. I always have trouble finding it. All right, Oryx. Okay, I think this is my latest one. Yeah, this looks right. Good luck coming up with a name for your config. Oh, I'm posting to YouTube. Why am I doing that? How many chats did I type into YouTube and no one saw my response? All of them. Damn it. Oh well. Nothing of value was lost.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, there's mine.
Too bad I can't click it. I've looked at yours already.
It's a little bit different than the last time you saw
garbage.
it, but works great. I don't have any issues with symbols or arrow keys. Let's take that.
Okay. You got me. I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys that I haven't even figured out what to do with yet. Like I just have them off.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't found a use for them.
Let me look
Seems
at
kind of
garbage.
wasteful. This
What the
layout.
heck? How do you not use those?
I don't know. Well, all right. So I wanted control. I actually I don't even use that control shift one either. Like, what would you use these modifier keys for down at the bottom here? Bottom left.
F keys?
F keys. Like what?
Oh, you mean bottom left?
Bottom left.
Left control, the same that normally on a Mac keyboard, but I have two keys. One's F11 and F12.
What is that? Oh, is it an IntelliJ thing? Or
Yeah.
what? Yeah, no, I had to have command on my thumb cluster, so that's why I put that there. I also have a dedicated emoji button.
Night, Queen.
Good night. And a button dedicated to Command S, which seems dumb, but is very satisfying. Just slap that when you want to save the file. Oh, here we go. We should, what are we doing here? Yeah, I was just going to say this should be a screen sharing sesh. All right.
Screenshot.
The other thing I had to do was move my 67890 over by 1 because I kept hitting those wrong. But
Standard. Mine's similar except for command is not here. Space, delete, enter.
interesting. Oh, Alfred, that's a good one.
My Alfred key is this one. or my
Something.
Raycast key or whatever. I have not. I've looked at Colmac, to be honest. It looked interesting because it was the least disruptive of the two to try. But I haven't invested any time in doing that.
No, I haven't either. I remember like learning about it once when I was younger and trying it, but no, I never seriously made an effort.
Well, I watched, or Greg told me that he's been using Colmac for years because someone convinced him to change, and so he still uses it. But it's kind of frustrating to use like his wife's laptop or something else.
Sure.
Let me
Show us the one true layout, Sean. There's that pipe key. I love that. Maybe that's what I should put on one of my my spare keys. Where can I put that? Sean Washbot. Oh, so you moved the 6 all over also. That's the correct thing to do. That's a pro move right there. So you actually use those braces and stuff?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
So I put the openings next to, like, closest to my pointer fingers because editors will always close it for me. So I don't usually have to hit these two, but I have them there for convenience.
That's a good point.
It's hyper. So if I hold it down, it's hyper. And if I tap it, it's escape.
And so what do you have hyper things bound to then?
Spotlight.
Okay.
Space things, keyboard, like app shortcuts, because there are no conflicts with anything with hyper. So you never have to like worry about binding a key binding to something that's like system default, for example.
Right. But I mean, you have to pair it with some software. Is the point?
No, I mean, like, so for example, if I hit Hyper P, it opens up my WebStorm projects panel. So Hyper P, start typing enter, and it opens up the project I want.
Mm-hmm.
Hyper T does something for me. Hyper G does something for me. So I mostly have them like mnemonic things, hyper plus first letter of whatever.
So hyper is Command Shift Option.
It's all
Control.
the modifiers at the same time.
It's all 4 modifiers at once, held down.
Yeah, so holding X is hyper, Alt Shift Command Control. And in Windows, it's the Office key, which is annoying as hell if you're playing games and you hit hyper.
Oh my god, yeah.
But it works great on Mac anyway. 1Password here. I use that all the time. F11.
Oh, the command backslash.
Yes. I have it hyper backslash though, because I use a command backslash in other apps.
Wait, okay, so again, I'm confused. So you type hyper backslash. How does that know to trigger? Oh, you change 1Password's.
Mm-hmm.
I
change it in
understand.
settings.
I understand.
These are also, if I tap, it sends 1. If I hold, it sends F1 all the way up. F10, F11, F12.
What do you use function keys for, man?
IntelliJ stuff.
Gross.
It also just makes function keys easy to use, again, if you're configuring things and you don't want to be running into like all these stupid, other app shortcuts and crap like that. So that's why I use them a lot. Arrow keys.
The
chaotic.
Yeah, I have the tilde and the escape swapped, which is funny.
Oh, really?
The tilde I use like I really really like having the tilde key right on my pinky there.
I use escape way more, but also Vim mode, so I'm always hitting escape.
Sure.
Function 1 I don't use the other layers very often. I feel overwhelmed.
Yep. Yeah.
Space moving, monitor brightness, audio controls, and then movement 2. If I'm feeling wild, space moving, mouse moving, Vim style.
Yeah, so Matt, this was my hang up too at first, because it seems like who could possibly need this, or what value could you possibly get out of it? But you're obviously, I think the key is understanding that just because it's customizable doesn't mean you have to customize it. Mm-hmm. There's a million and one things you can do, and I have used like 10% of the features on the keyboard, right? but I have a few cool things that I use all the time that I was able to customize in there just for my workflow. So like, yeah, I used the one I started with was like a Mac developer beginner or something. That's what I based mine off of.
Yeah, I found one called like Maclander or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
It's yeah, and that's the other that's absolutely key is making small modifications at a time because otherwise you'll never learn it. Yeah. But you're right, Matt, it is very daunting.
some people's layouts are just messed up and should not exist.
There is
But-
subjective aspect to this.
Yeah. What is school bus?
Like, what do you name? There's an Alfred key. It's hard to just come up with names for things.
Yeah. So I found one that was as closest as possible to the Mac layout or Mac keyboard layout, and then went from there.
Yeah.
This one has a League of Legends layer. Boom. Here we go. Tap dance. What does this do? I don't know. I really
So
want to know. I can probably actually go to my layout and look at the history of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, how's the plank, by the way?
You can fork crap too. How wild is that?
It's great.
Fork someone's layout. It's cool. It's I use it on my PC for stuff. I don't use it a ton. It's fine. This is gonna make Matt uncomfortable, I think.
I hate this so much. I hate this so much. Where are the keys, Sean? Where are the keys?
They're here
No, they're
and here.
too many modes.
And there.
Too many modes. This is an abomination.
So raise and
What is
lower?
built-in tabs?
Where? What?
What does that mean? Built-in
Oh,
tabs?
it comes with this. So how it works is if you hold down raise, it goes to raise, and if you let go of raise, it goes back to base. So it only holds down. It only changes as long as you're holding it down, and it's on your thumbs, which actually is kind of nice if you get used to it. So you can move really quickly. So raise and lower.
Do you have F and J highlighted just to find the? Because they don't
Color?
have bumps. Yeah,
They have bumps, but I like the colors.
that's a really good idea. I should do that.
The hardest thing, honestly, is like learning how to count with letters. So like tab is 0 or nothing, and then like Q is 1, W is 2. So typing, if you have to type your 1Password with a bunch of numbers and letters in it, it's like tap.
Like, here's the thing: if you can do this, why wouldn't you just put 0 first?
I don't know. I didn't change it. I feel like I've not seen this. I kind of like the separate space keys.
Less. What's the idea there? Because it feels more like a regular key then.
So it's not as wobbly.
Plus, it's another thing you can customize. Like, I only hit space with my right thumb, so I could make the left space something else.
Yeah, this is nice. I feel like I'd have a hard time going back to a keyboard where I can't actually make a key do whatever the heck I want it to do.
Well, so
Dang, nice.
So for when
Seems
I was
nice.
doing lots of, I've shown this on the show before, when I was doing lots of CAD stuff and also for editing the show in Logic, I have this. Oh, perfect. But look at that ratio. Genovese control pad. This is a very businessy point of sale looking thing. It's cool because you can swap out the keys with whatever you need. But I could do a lot of these things by just having another layer on my keyboard with some lights and you know what I mean, like, and just have macros that do these things. And this was not cheap either. So it does have Cherry MX Blacks though, which is kind of cool. But anyway,
I'm really interested to try one
Yeah.
of these. I really want to try one. Nope, not that. One of these.
Oh,
I
boy.
really want to try one
Jesus
of
Christ!
these.
It's like a slab.
It's huge.
Why? It's so big. No, I mean the separate.
One thing that does annoy me is that I can like the
Look at
the moon
fucking
lander can like
case.
move around, right? I want it to be in
Yeah.
the same spot. But yeah, this looks real interesting. If you've ever seen the Primogen type, he makes me want to try one of these. Yeah, Primogen swears by it. Exactly. Yeah.
Even the thumb. Look at the thumb clusters. Even they're tilted strangely. The space. Yeah. Really interesting.
It's almost like the ring finger is longer than the pointer finger.
Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh, the staggering is so strange. Who comes up with this shit, man?
Who comes up with this?
Oof.
I haven't been able to not see it every time I look at this picture.
There it is. And there's the Ergo mouse too.
Yep. I
Yep.
want to try one. I don't think I could just buy one without trying it, but I really want to try it.
Cherry Browns.
Dactyl keyboard. I have to go to Twitch to copy the URL. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it does.
No, it's parameterized though, which means you can customize it to like your hand size because it's 3D printed, I assume. That's cool. Pretty cool. Look at that thing. It looks like a sculpture.
We're looking at it.
Look at that. Look at those curves.
I don't like the colors at all. I don't like them.
I think it's cool. It's got that kind of 70s shag carpet.
That's what I don't like.
Turquoise bathroom vibe.
Can I tell you that when I was in my band, we used to have this practice space that was an old studio in like South Georgia, and it had in the practice room it had lime green shag carpet on the floor and the walls.
Are you? Is that just like a triggering memory for you?
It was freaking disgusting. It was so gross. What were you saying, Matt? The Perix? You have one of these?
That's the mini. Ooh, that's awful.
I don't. That's like Logitech.
Oh no, that's a ergonomic nightmare. Oh, I see. Oh, so this is like some sculpt kind of things.
I like this. I like this.
I like that they have a a 10 keyless.
I like this business.
No,
I do like that.
weird. I had a trackball face.
I just need a split keyboard now though, because when I'm not on one, it's uncomfortable. My shoulders, yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like constricted almost.
Absolutely.
The Perix board is ugly.
Yeah, let's look. I want to see the split one on these. That Perix.
Best selling, maybe.
Yeah. I got all kinds of stuff.
I use a mouse like this a lot, actually. Which one do you have, Matt? Like this one?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like. Look at those arrow keys
Oh,
and the 11525. That's it.
I don't like those arrow keys.
It's only $40 though. Can't go wrong with that.
You've went wrong. Yeah, I like the split design though. I like how it's rounded too.
Mm-hmm.
In the palm rest as well.
Oh, I've got a co-host over here. What?
I don't know how they could possibly be getting work done at this distance.
Yeah. A 15-inch screen. You're like 3 miles away.
They carved a keyboard out of it.
Hey. That thing is an abomination. I'm sorry.
I kind of like it.
$350.
It's beautiful.
You have bad taste, Sean.
They do have foot pedals.
Foot pedals. Programmable foot pedals. What could you use? Put your hyper key on that.
What you would do is you would put the +1 Slack reaction on one of these, or thumbs up.
So you can just like stomp it.
Yeah. Yeah.
PR request merged.
Refurb.
And button placement is so strange for those. I thought they'd be higher up. Oh my god. You know, like
For scene switches, that makes sense.
if I've got my wrist resting on the table, like my 2 fingers are higher up. It's weird. What is that thing? Is that a foot rest?
No. It's an accordion.
We've gone too far. What? Okay. Oh, okay. I mean,
I can get behind that.
yeah, maybe.
It's a little much.
Just because you can.
Shoot, I bet that
Well,
would
I
work
mean,
with my
it could
Moonlander,
be.
huh?
I mean, it could be an accessibility thing. Maybe. Boy, can you imagine pressing in like you said, like an accordion? That'd be great.
But why not? That's a good way to look at it. Why not?
You think we could get the Moonlander? What's it called? The firmware.
QMK?
Yeah, you think we get QMK on a like a GarageBand, Rock Band controller, and like you could use the buttons as like modifiers and like, you know, type something out. Get like enough layers on there to type out get all the characters.
Dogs going nuts out there. Little yippy dogs.
No bite. No bite. No bite. He's getting bitey. Ow. I think that's my time. He's saying we've been on too long.
You can walk around the room typing. You basically got a keytar there. Yeah, I need to go and make dinner and stuff too.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for hanging around, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. Obviously, we can talk about keyboards anytime. God damn it. All right, I really got to go, though.
Oh, here's the plank.
Just a baby.
Here, it's plugged into a computer currently, so how do I... There we go. It's backwards. Everything's backwards. There. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, everybody, have a great evening. We'll see you in the Discords. Thanks for swinging by.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Welcome again, E. Bernard. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. See ya.
See you, everybody.